welcome to, I'll go slow, so you can go as I go.
Are you recording that? You're on the World Wide Web, right?
Seriously.
I just got your screen.
Okay. And, I
Your
don't know why I
breakfast.
keep getting this highlighted area, but, okay. So once you're in My Learning Plans, you'll notice you don't have a lot of menu items along the left-hand side anymore. But what you do have are more tabs across the middle. So working in My Learning Plans, and it'll be the same when you work in My PATs, you don't have these side tabs anymore to click through. You'll be clicking through these tabs across the middle. So, here's what they all mean. List is where you'll create a list of your learning plans. So really just the titles. Learning Plan 1, how to weld. Learning Plan 2, how to apply your safety equipment, or whatever your titles are for your learning plans. It's kind of nice to number them.
Is there a learning plan for each class?
So how do you set up your learning
Each
plans?
competency.
Everybody does it a little bit different.
Can you do it that way?
Some people like to set up a learning plan for every competency, and then maybe that learning plan lasts 2 classes, or maybe a class and a half. Some people organize their learning plans by competencies. Some people organize their learning plans by class period, but you're going to end up with a lot of them then. So I don't really suggest that one. It's a little difficult. And some people group competencies together where they make sense to group together. So they might have 2 competencies or maybe 3. I don't suggest going a whole lot more than 3 for one learning plan. So these 3 competencies really work together, and they're doing them all simultaneously. Then it would make sense to have one learning plan for those 3 competencies.
And think of gas metal arc welding, short for intro, like short circuit and spray. Each has their own competency, but one learning. Does that make sense? Okay.
So it really is how you decide to organize it for what makes sense for your competencies and your class and how you're teaching it. So there's not a right way or a wrong way, it's really what makes sense to you. But I wouldn't suggest putting more than 3 competencies together, because then it gets a little hard to manage with all those learning objectives. And then you need to make sure, okay, I've got 3 competencies here, am I really hitting all these learning objectives in this one learning plan? And if not, maybe, okay, my learning plan 2, I'm going to have to add this competency again, because here's some learning objectives I didn't get in that first learning plan. You know, so you can do that. You can have a competency in more than one learning plan. Really, your learning objectives drive those learning activities. So always keep them in mind. So list.
So, you said number them, that's like learning plan 1.
It kind of makes it
and then a
easy.
subtitle?
Yeah. LP1 or Learning Plan 1, LP1 is just fine, and then a subtitle. When I look at the course and then when you look at it again or somebody else looks at it to teach it, just kind of lays it out a little bit nicer if they're numbered. WIDS will automatically assign a number when you're in here, but then if you go to create a printout, that number goes away and just your title is there. So it's
Unless
kind
if you
of,
assign it.
yeah, so it's kind of nice to just title them LP1, whatever it is, LP2, whatever it is. And then if you do need to move them around or adjust them, it's real easy to go in and change the number. You know, it's not that big of a deal to edit it a little bit. And, okay, now this is supposed to be 4 instead of 6. I'm just going to change the number, and not big of a deal, but makes it handier to look at and to make sense of it. And again, to do it, you know, to enter your learning plan title, you always got to click that edit button up in the middle there. And you're just going to click add. And then once you type in your learning plan, you know, title, whatever it is, you always want to make sure you click this shared box.
That's right. I had this down here and I couldn't find it, so
Yep.
I didn't go far
It's
enough.
when you're creating the title, you always want to click the shared box here.
Okay.
Okay?
What's the significance of that?
It's step 1 of a 2-step process so that other people can see your learning plan, including me. Yep. You could create your own secret, super secret learning plans, Adam, and nobody could ever see them if you didn't click that shared box. So some people are very private. Yeah, right. So for the purpose of
Students, they don't need to see them.
if it's a curriculum project, they always have to be shared, and so everybody can review them and stuff. So, but there is 2 steps to that process, and I suggest, you know, if you know what your learning plan titles are, I really suggest laying out your titles first, rather than build one title and then build that whole learning plan. I think purposefully think through how you want to organize the course and enter all your learning plan titles, and that way you have it laid out. You know, and you might adjust it later and think, oh, I need another learning plan in here to cover this. It's easier to go in and add it than to build learning plan. You build the whole thing, then you build a whole nother learning plan and a whole nother one. I'd get the titles all laid out first to organize it, you know. Now, I'll show you step 2 when I go through the whole learning plan thing so that it's viewable. So clicking shared was step 1 of 2-step process. Management tab is kind of like project management up here. There's nothing for you to do there. So you can just ignore that tab completely. I wish it was way on the end or something so you didn't have to worry about it, but just skip over it. Where you're going to actually start working, then once you have your titles, is in the information tab. And here it will have you, when you create all your titles, they'll all come in a drop down here. So you'll just, it has you select a learning plan. Here's all my titles. I'm going to click in this one. And if you see that, then you need to contact me. I don't know why that came up. Sometimes it happens. Goofy, glitchy things can happen. So I'm going to just try that one more time. I didn't try to do anything, so I don't know why it did that. Let's go to a different one and see if I can save it. Good gravy. I wasn't really saving anything, so I don't know. Just see if it happens again, because now I'm curious. Okay, I don't know. So sometimes glitchy stuff like that happens. Just try it a couple times. Like anything else, if it's really giving you a hard time, just log out of the whole system and log back in again, and that sometimes will rectify those problems. Okay, so information is where you're going to add 2 pieces of information. 1 is your course competencies that you're addressing in that learning plan, and 2 is a brief little overview narrative for the purpose, overview or purpose of the learning plan. So it's a 1, 2, 3 short paragraph, if you want, sentence about what this learning plan is going to cover to set it up for the students. Think about if you were, you know, just up in front of the class that day telling the students, what would you say? You know, so it's just giving an overview. So target competencies, if you click to add them, you're going to get the drop down of all those competencies that you developed for your course. And if you can't remember what was underneath each of them, the performance standards, the learning objectives, you can click expand and it'll expand them out. Otherwise, you just get that competency. So I'm going to add this one in for this learning plan.
And it could be one or even all of them, right?
For a learning plan,
Well, I mean, not all of them, but it could be multiple, right?
you can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
suggest
probably not all
trying.
of them, but yeah.
Yeah, I suggest trying to limit it to like 3, but whatever makes sense, really.
I could see 2 really easy, I guess.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So I'm just going to pick one just for the sake of right now, and clicking save. And so now that target competency shows up, and I have to scroll down to get to my other piece. So always keep an eye on your scroll bars here. If you see there's space below, that probably means there's more down below to enter. Okay, so then scrolling down, here's where my overview purpose area is, and it would just let me type in there, in this learning plan. So it kind of starts out like this, or you know, whatever I would say. 1, 2, 3 sentences. It doesn't have to be real long or lengthy.
I'll be right back. Bring these up and then we'll talk.
And then I'm going to have to scroll back up to get my save. Am I lying? Oh, there it is.
Sure. Yep, for sure.
Okay, save successful. So that's it for the information tab. 2 things to do. Competencies, overview. Learning activities is the meat and potato of your learning plans. So here's all of those activities you're going to have students do to learn the material you want them to learn for that learning plan. So think back to your competencies, think back to what those learning objectives were, and your learning objectives will help you come up with your activities that you're going to have them do. Put in everything, like don't assume. So if it's if you include a lecture in your course, put it in here. Participate in lecture or view lecture. If you have some demonstrations and you have students work on practicing a little bit, include demonstrations, discussions, participate in group discussions. All those varied activities that help engage the learning and help the students learn the material, all of those things. And we want to be, we want to have variety, we want to have engagement, we want to have them actively doing things, but we also want to have instructor-led activities, because you really need to have that instructor-to-student contact in your courses. So this is the hardest part, and I keep always trying to pull more from people when they're developing their curriculum projects, because I'm like, okay, what else do you do, or what else could you do? And in WIDS, there's actually a really nice library of activity ideas. There's like 400 items in there. So rather than thinking like, what else could I have them do? You can certainly explore the library out here. And so for this instance, if I'm out of ideas, I'm going to go to import from a bank or library. Again, bank would be another course in WIDS. Library is like a list of resources.
So you want to print everything or something? Yeah. Usually that course description doesn't.
And there's a ton of them here. There's 400 some. So, it might be helpful for you.
I remember you showing me.
Because it's like, what the heck else could I do? Well, here's 400 more ideas that you could maybe pick a couple things from. Get in little groups and do things out. Yeah. Learning activities. I'm just going to go back like I'm back into the beginning part of it again. I'm just going to click like I'm going to add it. So I could have chosen one of those, but say I know what I want to do, I'm going to add it in. You don't necessarily have to pick this cycle, but I would like you to keep it in mind. It's the cycle of learning. So when you're creating your learning activities, keep in mind, sprinkle in a little motivation. Have a big bulk of comprehension and a big bulk of practice. And then sometimes they're going to apply it in that practice, sometimes application comes in the assessment part of it. But just really for more so, keep in mind that motivation and that practice. And giving them time to comprehend it. So think about all of those, like that cycle of learning when you're coming up with all your activities. You can pick it if you want to, but you don't have to. I just recommend keeping it in mind. If you have any learning materials, which I know that welding has a ton of fabulous learning materials out there. You have those wonderful documents out on the S drive. Here's where you can add them into WIDS. Okay, so say, what would be an example of one? I'm just gonna click out of here. Maybe it's read a welding blueprint. I don't know, is that even something that you would ever have them do?
Yep, every day.
Okay. Because lots of times I just make stuff up because I don't know what I'm talking about for the most part. Okay, so that's your learning activity. They always start with a verb because they're a directive. They can be a verb anywhere on Bloom's or any other verb that you want to come up with. So you want to start your activities with a verb to direct the students to learn. And now say you have a wonderful resource out there, a document or a website or a YouTube video. Here's where you can add it into WIDS. So that's where I suggest putting in all those wonderful S drive resources. So I'm just going to click Add New Learning Material. Give it a title. So, blueprint practice sheet or whatever it is, okay? If there's a URL for it, so if it's a YouTube video or a website, type in the address. If it's a document to go out and snab, just click document and then select. Takes you out like you're going to attach something. It's a browse. Takes you out to your computer. You could go and find it wherever it is.
this information area, now this one's highlighted.
I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I'm just gonna say that's the document I want. If you can fill some of this in, go for it. So, you know, if you know who the author is, you know, fill it in as you see fit. If you're using other people's stuff, like you're going out to a website and finding stuff, put in as much information copyright-wise as you can, just so, you know, none of us go to jail someday in the long run, but.
When you do stuff like
I mean, it's
that,
kind of split, you set the syllabus up.
will this,
Update to
Blackboard
your
show is part of
information
this,
and what
right?
the schedule is gonna be like for the
Will
summer.
all of this
what you're
stuff
gonna
kind of
do each
show
week,
up
or
in
what you're
Blackboard?
working on.
Someday.
Does that make sense?
So in our show, we have to go back out into each, we have to pick it
Right.
up all again.
Right now you do. WIDS is working, and they're very close right now to being able to populate Blackboard.
Now, the other
So
area that you will be working
that's a action thing that they're working on this year. And we've had some meetings down in Madison already, and it's closer than I ever thought it was gonna be actually. Where it really, they can press a couple buttons and it builds activities into Blackboard for you, copies them out of here, can pull in learning materials. So it's getting there, but right now it's still double dipping process. You have to do both. So that's how to add learning materials. So there, okay, I didn't save it, so it didn't go there, but if I would've clicked save, it would've saved and shown up there. Okay, so have a variety, keep them engaging, keep in mind the learning cycle. Then assessment activities, here's what you're gonna be testing them on to know that they perform the competency or able to, you know, do the competency. Say your assessment strategy and your competency was a skill performance, which would be very likely to have one of those. So then maybe your assessment activity is a little more detailed. So they're producing a straight weld, or they're writing a program to cut a certain, you know, and you have a little title for it, but it doesn't have a lot of detail there. It's like a sentence almost.
Can we like put the number, okay, well, number 7 out of our pack?
Yep. Yep.
Yep. Okay, that's good to know too. The other thing, learning activities, Bonnie, is that the place to put in, it must be like, you put in read blueprint?
Yep.
And then you went all, so what if it was view,
Yep.
video,
Yep.
blah, 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 or attend presentation?
Yep.
That's the spot.
It's all that, all that. It's the meat and potatoes of your learning plan or the learning activities.
So, if you say something like attend presentation, and it's not yet built,
No, it hasn't really.
it's a lecture, it's a
Uh-huh.
discussion about it. You have nothing to put in. That's
Nope.
okay, right?
But after you're done developing your course, it is okay. After you're done developing your course, you're going to still be the course manager of that course, and you're going to be able to go in once you build that presentation and add it in here. And we would want people to maintain their courses and do that and keep them up to date, because, like I said, for one thing, eventually WIDS will populate Blackboard, so that will be. This is like our house for everything. You know, we'd rather have learning materials in here than out on the S drive somewhere. So if a new faculty member comes on board, here's your one-stop shop. Here's everything you need to teach the course. And if you're building your Blackboard, Kristen would make you have that. I'm not making people have their learning materials yet, because you maybe haven't taught it yet, and you're going to be building things as you go, and that's okay. But if you already have them, by all means, put them in. Yep. Yep.
Even in Blackboard too, you know, I mean, I can see as we go through our second year stuff, it'll be, we'll have the first time through, and then we're gonna come
Yep.
back and probably do things all together
Yep.
a little differently.
Yep. I know. I
Been there for a
know.
while.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, good questions. So again, assessment activities, think of it like a sentence. It's just a sentence. Complete activity.
Well, number 7.
Yeah, yeah. Take exam on chapter 1. Produce your written product of, you know, so it's just a sentence, so it's not a lot of detail. Where your detail is going to come in is when you build your performance assessment task for that project.
And that's why we don't want you to make 17
Does that make
questions, but
sense?
two.
There's where
Say
your,
that one more
your
time.
where the detail for the assessments comes into play is when you build a performance assessment task. That's where your directions will be, that's where your rubric will be built, your scoring guide, your rating scale. You'll tell students what they need to do to demonstrate competency. That's all going to be in your performance assessment task. Then, when we put in that learning activity, I showed you, I'll go and do it one more time here.
The course menu in the course, so the tabs don't get changed, but that's more
I'm-
new. So
Did I not save it? Okay.
this is no longer relevant, we don't have to do.
If I typed it here, then right here is where I put it in, that learning material. I put it right when I typed in the learning activity, I went and snabbed my learning material.
There's a few teacher included,
Okay.
there's discussion, grammar's good.
This learning materials tab is the same as that other one, except that if you put it in here, it doesn't attach it to a specific activity. It's just kind of out there, like a library of learning materials or something. But if you put it in when you type in your activity, it actually will show up right with that activity. It checks and it
So you
attaches
don't
to
really
it.
wanna use that one,
I'd say ignore this one.
okay.
Learning material.
Okay, no, yeah,
What might that be?
it's just a matter of, the big thing that we should have.
Could be a PowerPoint presentation, could be a practice worksheet,
We do have directions on how.
it could be a extra
that as well.
article to read, it could be a YouTube video,
Integrates right into.
it could be a website that you would want them to go and explore.
Time to help them set
No,
up
what
YouTube
if it's
and
in
show 'em how
Blackboard?
to do
You
the
have to have a link to
Cause that'll be the biggest part and that's really.
But eventually we'd want more to be in WIDS than in Blackboard, because eventually, like I said, WIDS would be able to populate Blackboard. So for right now, we want them in both. We are. I'm
Does
sorry.
it have to include material that you need to, like steel?
No,
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 just
and you don't.
classroom?
Yep, just that extra stuff, and you don't have to put in a textbook as a learning material either, because you've already
Already
listed
got the
that.
textbooks.
learning material may not necessarily, if it's in for now, if it's in our Blackboard shell.
Yep, and then someday when
Is
you
that
don't,
okay?
and
So
then
we don't have to put
someday when
anything
you don't
in?
have enough time, and you don't know what, you're up in the middle of the night, like I always am, then go into your Blackboard shell and put it all in WIDS.
That will be the first thing I do, right?
Yeah, right?
When you get done, then let me know, so I'll sideline.
Yeah.
Well, we can just do a course copy.
I'm highly suggesting you put it in WIDS for now, but I'm not gonna not approve your course if you don't have it in there.
Okay. I'm concerned about things that aren't.
You have to prioritize your time
Yeah,
too.
exactly, alright.
Yeah. Yep,
How do I submit these? Just email you?
yep, just shoot me an email whenever you're ready.
Alright,
Okay. How's it going?
good.
Good.
So if we put,
I got
YouTube, huh?
video
you
going.
know, like the ones we're sharing with all the other colleges,
I think I'm just about ready.
what solid points do we put in there? Theirs, ours, or do we have to get together and determine that, or is it gonna be separated between
One
schools?
thing, I just reviewed one of John's last night, and there just, there weren't a lot of
Are those
examples
schools doing
in there.
WIDS too, or no?
Think about that.
Yeah.
I got it broken up, we each got a couple classes.
Oh, so what you're doing, all
Some
those
of them were
schools will be
just
using.
readings, there was really no instructor to student
I
activities in
got a
that
feeling
one
that.
that I reviewed of John, so I just, and he said, yeah, I got other stuff I can put in there.
Or the,
Be consistent, it'll be, that learning material will be like those. Like for example, I'm just trying to put in stick right now, for Angel, a couple of things to help me remember what she's doing. So for a learning activity, participate in discussion about she'll know what I'm not attaching anything to it.
Contact.
We can either talk about it, maybe I'll have a few
Is this
slides.
supposed to be on my
Well,
Yeah, and
yeah.
there's still presentations
I
and
got nothing new.
presentation, you know, it's still that
I'm leaving.
instructor-led
Well, you know, like some,
contact.
we all got different, you know,
Take a
power.
look. Yeah, and if you don't have it,
Once
you
we
know,
pull them out of the repository
yeah,
and make them ours,
We can do whatever we want.
we can
Other than
probably
my
build.
videos that I have, which there's this thing. Our contact is detailed accounting, whatever, very specific things you got going.
but different, like different things you're addressing, you know, that, like you have that background knowledge and stuff, and you can do them little short snippet 5-minute videos
Yeah,
of
Woodify?
you, of the instructor, you know.
Woodify.
So just
Woodify.
keep in mind, yeah. Otherwise, just shoot me an email and we can go from there.
Woodify.
Hey, Mark,
Goofy looking.
And then you just
Good, how are
enter in
you?
your email.
do you want to go into PATs today or not so much? Is that enough to make your head feel like it's going to blow up?
Can you show us how to put them down below? Or do we
Oh,
need
yeah.
PATs?
Step 2 of the 2-step process.
Okay.
Thank you. Once you click that shared box, you got your titles. You don't need to have anything other than your titles and
We
click
got all
shared.
this stuff done that we just went through. Learning activities, materials.
Yep, or you don't even have to be that far. You could just have your list of titles.
Okay.
And they're not built yet, but that's okay. Go back to course outcome summary.
So now let's just kind of go through this. You're gonna be reviewing.
Go down to course LPs, PATs. And then it's one more time, of course, because it drives you crazy and makes you do that.
Why?
I don't know.
Oh,
And then click edit and add course item. When it's referring to add course item, it's referring to add a PAT, add a learning plan. And they both show up here, PATs, learning plans. Just check the ones you want.
Okay,
Check them, go to both tabs,
okay.
and then click save.
Oh, okay.
And once they show up under course outcome summary, course LPs, PATs, once they show up here, that means I can see them too. Because when I go back to my learning plans, if you notice, there's an area called My Learning Plan Collection, and there's an area called Course Learning Plan. WIDS is under the philosophy that people like to be able to have things messy and uncompleted, and they don't want anybody to see them until they're ready to have them be seen. Because we've asked, can we just automatically have them be a course? Nope, we don't have it written in the program that way. So okay, people have to go through this 2-step process and whatever. But once they move from this My area, and I'm under My Learning Plans here. Once they move from the My area down to the course area, then you know I can see them. So I can get in the back doorway if you click shared but didn't do the 2 steps. I could, but technically it's a little difficult. But.
Okay.
And I have a really handy dandy Jing tutorial that if you get that far and you create your list and you're like, how the heck do I get them to be a course item again? Shoot me an email and I'll shoot you my Jing tutorial, and it walks you through it.
where, from the homepage again, where how many of the tutorials are already out there? Can you show us that one
Yep.
more time?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Open up a new tab,
Right, we still need to develop this for online.
and if you scroll down again under logins, oops, I'm sorry,
So if you really want as much as they can.
and you go to that faculty resources,
Skip the move.
and then the password is faculty. I was already in, so it went right into it, but otherwise you type in faculty,
This is just.
instructional resources,
It's a backup.
curriculum,
You can say.
and here's WIDS tutorials.
My email address.
So as many as I have are out here, and in fact, some of these that I want to have out here, I haven't gotten a chance to go back and make yet. Some don't go anywhere, but for the most part, there's a lot of them that do.
So you could type in your.
There's some other ones too, like course development.
They're never gonna.
Yep. So I'm gonna go back up again. So I'm under curriculum,
No, I opened the.
instructional resource, oh wait.
No, that one right
Sorry,
there, right?
right here, course development.
If you ever get stuck, just give me a call.
Yep, thanks. I'm sideways, I can't hardly see it.
Oh, I know. I just thought that was a chance, you know.
I appreciate it. So, yeah, they're the same tutorials both places. This one actually links to the other.
Okay.
But faculty